Now to the man who could be more responsible than any other individual for putting Sir Keir Starmer into Downing Street. Good morning,
You've got
Mr
to
Farage.
laugh, haven't you? You've got to laugh, Trevor. You follow this narrative that all the media follow. Let's get it straight. We've had 14 years of Conservative government, a mega majority in 2019, which I significantly helped them to obtain. Millions of those voters...
I've made that point this morning, by the way.
Utterly betrayed. If I'd stayed at home, if I'd gone to the Bahamas fishing for the month, Keir Starmer would have won a big majority anyway. And many of our voters, if they're polled and spoken to, if we weren't here, wouldn't vote for anybody.
Is there any chance I could ask you a question?
Go on then.
Right. Let's start with the unambiguously racist remarks made by one of your own volunteers, Andrew Parker. Now, you said this is a setup.
I know it is.
Do you have a single shred of proof?
Well, I'll tell you who he is. He's an actor, OK, number one.
All sorts of people are actors. That's not proof that this was a setup. Have you got any proof?
He's an actor with a rather well-spoken actor, but he has an alter ego. He does what he calls rough speaking, all right? I was there working in the office in Essex when he turned up, and he was, from the moment he walked through the room, like a version of Alf Garnett. Now, I didn't know this was an act. It was an act from the start to the end. He spent time with the two Channel 4 undercover reporters in the office. In fact, he spent most of the morning with them. He then said, I've got a big car. He took canvassers out with Channel 4 in the car with him. He tried to get our canvassers to say nasty racist things, which of course they did not. And then he comes out with this, and literally Alf Garnett stream, including all mosques should be turned into Weatherspoons. This was an act from start to finish. It was a deliberate attempt to derail our campaign.
I've let you explain yourself. There's a number of things in that. There's not actually anything in that that says that you know that this was a setup. But what I think is even more interesting is...
Well, hang on.
Let me finish my question. You just said the guy came in and he was a walking Alf Garnett.
In accent terms.
Yeah.
In accent terms. He didn't say anything offensive to me at all. It was only when he got a couple of our canvassers in the car with Channel 4 filming that he tried to provoke them. He also, by the way, specialises, his services online include undercover filming.
But you still don't have any proof that actually he wasn't genuinely a guy who decided he wanted to support...
Well, if you wanted to support us, why not come as the person you really are? Why come using your false acting voice?
Quite a lot of the people who support you come as they really are. There's a guy who described gay people as degenerates. The one who talked about using migrants in small boats as target practice.
Well, that's the same guy.
People who reposted anti-Semitic comments.
That's the same guy. Well, hang on.
How many of you had to disown so far?
A few. I inherited...
What's a few? 2, 6,
no,
100?
Perhaps a dozen, something like that. Look, Trevor, you know me well enough. We've known each other 20 years. You know that I fought harder than anyone to drive the BNP out as an electoral force, and I did so with...
I've got a bone to pick with you about that, but we'll come back to that later.
Success. When I ran UKIP for all those years, and when I set the Brexit Party up, didn't allow anybody to even be a member who'd been part of one of those groups. Now, I have inherited a start-up. I've not even been doing this a month, and I've got some people there I'd rather weren't there, and they won't be after next Thursday at all.
As you say, we've known each other a long time. Let me just get to the root of this problem. Of course, you can't know the background of everybody who walks into the office, but do you ever ask yourself this question? In the words of the immortal Mrs. Merton, what was it about you, Nigel Farage, that first attracted these racists and homophobes and anti-Semites to your party?
Well, the candidates that we're kicking out, of course, came when I wasn't there. Is the first point to make. Second point to make. There is an irony.
Your party, you own it. They knew it's your party.
No.
So answer my question.
I have been honorary president.
About you
I've not
that attracted them?
Ironically, destroying the BNP means people who are minded that way don't any longer have a home to go to, and so some will gravitate in our direction. And as soon as we find out who they are, they'll be gone. And by the way,
and why do you think that is?
And by the way.
Finish your point. Why do you think that is? Why do they think that you are the person who's going to give them a home?
They don't.
Well, they do. They join your party.
But they're looking for a home. Just as on the left, communists join the Labour Party. Where else are they going to go? Maybe George Galloway now. I don't know. But, you know, this whole issue, remember, I led 29 MEPs into the European Parliament 5 years ago. It was the most diverse group from any country in Europe. And today, we've got the big rally, 5,000 people coming to Birmingham today. Who is the star of the show going to be? Well, it's going to be Zia Yusuf, a practicing Muslim, who is going to say things about the growth of Muslim extremism, about racism in Britain. And I can assure you, anybody who has a racist point of view, I don't want to know them.
All right. What about people who think Vladimir Putin is a really good guy?
The Russia hoax. The Russia hoax.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. Brexit won in the referendum. It must be the Russians. We had to put up with 3 years of being told we've been funded by the Russians until Aaron Banks...
saying you're funded by the Russians.
Until Aaron Banks finally won a court
Nobody's saying you're funded by the Russians.
In this case, I understand why the Labour and Conservative parties are worried. I was opposed to the Iraq war. I thought it was absolutely crazy to go into Libya.
No, but let me stop.
And 10 years ago, I stood up in the European Parliament and I said, you are giving a dangerous man an excuse to give his people to go to war. I said, there will be a war in Ukraine. Who else do you know that predicted it?
You're once again
Who else do you know?
You're once again answering your own question. My question to you is, are you aware that these bots, probably Russian-inspired, are interfering in the election? The Deputy Prime Minister is talking cobblers.
I mean, you had this bland fellow on earlier who apparently is the Deputy Prime Minister, who no one knows who he is. And there he is saying, oh, there are Russian bots involved. Hang on, did you ask him how many millions of pounds his party have taken from Russian sources over the course of the last few years?
You can't keep doing this.
This is the Russia hoax.
You can't keep asking yourself a question and answering it.
Can I be clear? Vladimir Putin is a very, very dangerous, but dangerously clever man. I abhor what he's done in Ukraine, totally and utterly.
All right.
But I was far-sighted. I saw this coming.
All right, let me ask you really a sort of a serious, substantial question. You are friends and allies with Donald Trump. Does he share your view that the West is largely to blame for Vladimir Putin's invasion?
No, but Henry Kissinger does, and many other very senior figures.
Dead.
Yes, Henry Kissinger warned about this all the way through the 90s, the noughties, and onwards. Look, we are where we are. The fact that I got it right all those years ago, and everybody else got it wrong, frankly, doesn't matter. We are where we are. And I'll tell you why I like Donald Trump, above all. This was the man that signed the Abraham Accords, got Israel and Arab states to start working closely together. This was the man who had the guts to cross the line and go into North Korea. This was the first president in 5 not to launch a foreign war. And I think, and this, by the way, there's no debate in this general election about foreign policy whatsoever, other than the attempt to smear me.
All right.
I think the world's in a very dangerous place.
Nobody's smearing you, Nigel.
Well, they're accusing me of supporting Vladimir Putin, and you virtually are too.
Let's just talk about the thing that I think most interests you, which is the future of the right. If you win your seat on Thursday, you're going to spend the next 5 years tormenting the Tories. You've promised them that. No,
replacing them.
OK, well, actually, that's the point.
Replacing them.
Is your aim to join up with them or to destroy? Is this a merger or a murder?
No, they have destroyed themselves. They're only being held together by an electoral system. And by the way, this time next Sunday, you will be discussing how unfit for purpose absolute first past the post is, I promise you, because Labour are going to win a vast number of seats on not a very big share of the vote. And you'll probably find people like us with many, many, many millions of votes will win seats, but nowhere near as many, perhaps, as we deserve. We have, now I've been back a month. It's a month tomorrow that I've been back doing this, all right? We've built up, we've now got 60,000 people paying me 25 quid. We've got a mailing list of whatever 200. What I'm going to do, not just in Parliament, but out in the country more importantly, we're going to build a mass movement for real change. OK. Well, look, this mass movement, I want to ask you about its character. As you said, we've known each other a while, and I want to put this to you personally, so give me a moment to explain it.
Sure. I know intuitively when somebody doesn't like me because of my colour. That's not you.
No.
I don't think you care much about those things. No. But actually, I wonder if you're doing something worse than that. You have a political project, which is to destroy Conservative and all of that.
No. It's a positive project.
Yeah. No, you've got a project. And you're prepared to use any means at all, including fanning the flames of prejudice, to advance that project, which is why you will turn a blind eye to people who use words like people who talk about gay people as degenerate.
That is totally and utterly untrue. You damn well know, having known me for 20 years.
My point is, not what's in your... my point is not what's in your mind, it is what you are doing.
Well, say that after today, right, when we launch the biggest donor to our campaign and the new star of our party, and you'll see a lot of this man in politics. Say that to Zia next week.
You're going to tell me you've got a nation donor. Yeah. That's not my point. My point is that the Reform project is a purely cynical project, which is prepared to turn a blind eye to prejudices of its supporters who come in off the road into the office with their Afghanistan-style things, and you don't mind that because you've got this bigger project in your mind,
and
without caring what it is doing to the sense of politics and the tenor of politics in this country. That's the accusation.
I wonder how many Labour supporters and Conservative supporters share
not talking to them, I'm
similar
talking about you.
Views. No, but that's the point, isn't it? That's the point. You single me out for this.
Yep.
You wouldn't ask... By the way, this Alf Garnett figure said he was a member of the Conservative Party, so perhaps you better ask Oliver Dowden next time about that. Political parties attract all sorts of people. I always think politics brings out the best and the worst in people. And I'm not fanning the flames of anything. I want unity in this country. I am worried that through diversity, through inclusion, through all these agendas that are being pushed, our schools, critical race theory, we're not bringing people together with this, we're dividing people. I want to live, Trevor, in a country that is literally colourblind. I couldn't care less what colour you are. I'm not interested in what sexuality you have. Let's treat everybody equally. That is my agenda.
Are you still in a place where you said to me several years ago that you would get rid of anti-discrimination legislation because you think it's divisive?
Very. Terrible. Awful. And what we're doing in our schools, telling young white kids...
Seriously?
What we're doing in our schools, telling young white kids they're oppressors and young black kids they're victims, is truly dreadful.
Let me just finally ask you this. I'm going to put this as polite as I can because, as you say, we've known each other. Yep. We treat each other with respect. Do you ever think that you are inviting people with evil and malign intent, with a nod and a wink, to come under your banner because you have this bigger cause, but what they want to do is essentially get rid of people like me?
Do you know how many people in this country genuinely have malign intent? It's minute. It's absolutely minute. Let's stop being so horrible. Let's stop being so horrible about the people of this country. We are the most decent people on earth, and I won't hear other.
Nigel Farage, thank you very much. We will no doubt carry on this conversation.